Good evening. Sorry I'm popping on a bit late today. I've been putting a couple of new things together here on the stream, and it's kind of a lot of little things, right? A lot of little things add up to a lot of time. So once I got to a stopping point, I started up. So that said, I thought I'd keep it a little open tonight. You know what? I got a big box of cards. I got a big book of truth. And, you know, I thought it'd be a good time to kind of play with some of the stuff that we're talking about here and go through some of these topics that we cover on and off. Like I tend to jump around a lot on purpose, right? And the goal of that is to try to find that one truth in as many ways as we can. Tell it in as many languages as possible, with as many accents and dialects and you know, cultural references and idiosyncrasies and all these different things. And you know, the purpose of that is to kind of wake up each individual part of ourselves that resonates with that story. If you look at something like, for instance, the tarot, which is this beautiful unfolding of our creation, and how complex that story is, and each card you can spend days, you know, talking about the different individuals, the different ideas that are unfolding, the different transitions that are taking place. All of these things are present in each one of these stories, and there's 78 of them. So it's you know, there's a lot to be had there. And then we look at other systems as well that have a similar approach, but with a different vocabulary. Something, say, for instance, the I Ching, which we've been talking about, or astrology, right? And they all seem to be pointing to the same idea, this sort of collection of truths. There's an overall concept of a polarity to the universe. There's an overall concept of a this give and take, this you know, in and out, the bestowal and the reception, right? The inhale and the exhale. And when you consider these things, and you begin to see the story, it starts to unfold to you. And you know, when you come to the one truth, the story comes to you all at once. That's kind of the magic of this experience, right? The magic of the experience of entering the inner sanctum, of coming to the one truth and achieving that conversation, is that the entire story is uploaded at once, right? It really is something. I've mentioned here on the stream before with respect to the different tools that we have available to us, and each one of them is sort of the same story, just told with a different accent, a different vocabulary. And if we understand these vocabularies and we're able to utilize that language, it gives us access to something very special. And what it gives us access to is ourselves. The part of us that's always speaking, the part of us that is the sum total of all experience, of all phenomena. If we are nothing but the point of reception, then the thing that we actually are is everything else. And that everything else includes the sum total of all knowledge. And so when you come to the one truth and you are able to appropriately understand the mechanics of that conversation, then you have access to the whole story, right? And why is that? Well, because you lived it already. You know how it ends. You wrote the thing. And so it's easy to recollect, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about here. And so I like to prove that a lot here on the channel by grabbing different bodies of knowledge, different books, different pieces of artwork, different systems of magic, all these different things, Bible verses and so forth, and kind of put it to the test, right? Does it speak to the one truth? Because if it's true, then it will. Right? Isn't that kind of the goal here? The goal here is to find out and make sure that we are, at all costs, speaking to the one truth. And whenever we're able to do that, and we have that confidence, then we can learn from that experience and to take it to a place where it is integrated. It's no longer something that we're fishing for. It's not like we're looking for the word. It just comes naturally. And anytime any phenomena whatsoever enters our minds, enters our thought, enters our senses, we're able to integrate it completely. And when we do that, it becomes knowing. Just like questions only lead to answers and answers lead to questions. And so there's no actual truth there. Knowledge is one thing, and knowledge is important, but knowledge is just signs. What we're looking for is knowing. Knowing is when you've taken something and made it such a part of yourself that it no longer requires thought or conscious awareness. It just is. I've made the analogy before of when I get up from my chair to go make a cup of coffee and I put my foot on the floor, I don't think about whether or not the floor will be there to meet my foot, right? I know it will. And that knowing is what I'm talking about. It's just so part of my thinking that floor will be there to meet my foot that it doesn't even enter my mind. I just get up with ease, with full confidence that that's going to happen. Entering the inner sanctum. Attaining conversation of your holy guardian angel. Knowledge in conversation. Soul talk. Provides that access. And, Eliphas Levi put it so elegantly. An imprisoned person with no other book than the tarot, if he knew how to use it, could in a few years acquire universal knowledge and would be able to speak on all subjects with unequaled learning and inexhaustible eloquence. It's just the truth, right? And so let's put that to the test. One of the things that we're going to be doing tonight is looking at a couple of decks. These are different than my usual decks that I pull out for this type of thing. These are all oracles. Some of them are a little more on the, would you say, mainstream side. Some of them are a more kind of hidden wisdom. Some of them, well, you'll see. We're going to go through a bunch. We have a big old box of goodies here. Some astrology stuff, which we're going to talk about later on as well. That deck and how we can use it to kind of gain some insight into the process of reading charts and things like that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we'll do some hexagrams, right? We'll just take a look at anybody who wants to look at any specific circumstance or anything that's going on in their lives that they want to consider. Then we can take a look at that, and we'll throw some tarot, and then we'll kind of corroborate with the Ching. It'll be a lot of fun. And so I threw this poll up. It's my first time throwing a poll up in the chat. I'm not exactly sure how. Oh, look at this. Luana, how you doing? Missy, hello. I didn't see anybody was there. It was being blocked by the poll. Looks like somebody voted. Wait, I have a vote. Let's see. Do you know about your Venus star point? Hello. I'm not sure what you mean. No, Venus star point. I mean, I do know. I'm going to deduce from the statement Venus star point. And what I'm going to deduce from that is the fact that Venus has a very interesting orbit with respect to our position the Earth and Venus and the Sun, whereby from our position, if you observe Venus going through its full orbit, it draws a pentagram in the sky, right? It makes the pattern is it's a fivefold symmetry, pentagonal. And so that said, though, I suppose what that could infer is at the point of your birth, looking at where Venus was in its orbit with relation to the Earth at the time, and considering, actually, interestingly, if you want to like get hardcore magical with that, we can look at LBRP type stuff, like the elemental pentagram and the lesser banishing ritual, i.e. which point do you start and end on, and that point would have a relevance with respect to your elemental correspondence. Now, an interesting question would be, what do you call the top when doing that math, right? So, but anyway, that's just me. That was stream of consciousness. I'm curious what it actually means. What is your Venus star point? I'm not familiar. Because I love learning stuff. I love learning stuff, especially when it comes to things like astrology, because astrology is such an intimate part of the vocabulary of tarot, which gives us access to the Tree of Life and Kabbalah. It gives us access to Goetia, and gives us access to the Enochian and all these things. So any way that I can sharpen up my, the small stuff, even better. Okay, so we have 3 votes for or Cute. I'll leave it up a little bit longer. But so, let's take a look at something here. One of the things that I wanted to look at, we'll put this aside for a moment. Here's fine. I love that book. It's a big old box of cards. I love boxes of cards. One of the decks I wanted to look at, it's interesting, and I've had this experience before. Most recently with Deviant Moon, where when you first look at the deck, you look at it from the perspective of the beauty. It's hard not to, right? I mean, you experience it visually first. Tactilely, fine. The card stock, and is it glossy or matte, and all these things, fine. But it hits you first in your eyes. And Deviant Moon was such an amazing experience visually that it was hard to get past that and to see the symbolism and these other things. And so I had difficulty using it for magical work and for divinatory work. And I got past that because I, remembered the truth, which is that it's just an accent. It's the words that matter, and it's speaking the same story. And once I found that truth, I saw the story all over the place, and the deck totally passes the test. So I have another example of that here, which is, actually, Deviant Moon is clearly created by at the very least, an intuitive who gets it. But otherwise is somebody that understands, is trained or is experienced in the art of magic, but they get it. This is a different circumstance. This right here is the opposite of that. This person had no connection to the art of tarot that I know of. And the deck is simply a compilation that was created by somebody else, right? And so it's an interesting example. And we'll see if we can find the story. The deck is let me pop up a list here and get the name right. It's Gustav Klimt, the Golden Tarot of Klimt. It's right there on the top, on the left. The Golden Tarot of Klimt. Okay, and now this is Gustav Klimt. He's a painter. He's most widely known for The Kiss. That's the picture that he's known for. Actually, I have a box of that painting that I keep my Visconti Sforza in. Okay, so this is Gustav Klimt's The Kiss. He was actually the first multimedia artist. His artwork was not typical in the sense of his choice of medium. Very often he would paint, but he would also watercolor. That shadow is an unfortunate. And then he would apply different textures, gold leafing, actual flowers. And so, the thing that and by the way, a lot of these are life-sized. These are the size of human beings. These aren't small paintings. And there's really something to that, right? And so this is really one of his more famous works. However, Klimt was actually quite prolific. And there was so much work that it was actually probably difficult to decide what pieces to put where with respect to selecting pieces for a tarot deck. So but let's take a look at, is the story depicted in this deck here? I have it in the divine order, right? So it's going to end on the Ten of Pentacles, and it's going to start on the Fool. And we're just going to kind of go through and take a look at these. And you tell me, I mean, it's clearly, I'm warning you, you're in for a beautiful artistic treat. It's just, Klimt had a way of evoking emotion in a way that a few artists are able to. He finds the core of people. One of the reasons he was such a sought-after artist with respect to the nobility of the time in their portraits was that he had this ability to show you yourself. So rather than paint a flattering picture, he showed you. And there were especially the women of the time who, it was so important that their image be maintained. And here comes this man that paints a picture of you that shows you the real you, and there was a shocking quality to it. That people were so attracted to the honesty of his work that he became too busy, which is one of the reasons that he was so prolific, is that he just spit him out because he got very busy. This is his Fool. This particular print contains gold foil that's kind of like strewn throughout to give it effect. I question this particular piece because it's very there's a lot of sorrow. This individual also, with respect to a Fool card, is old. They've been through some stuff. So this is almost like I get the implication of somebody who's like slipped back to the Fool. They didn't, like they weren't there, but now they've slipped back to the Fool. I don't know, it's very typically we see the Fool as a card of like a newness, right? Or like a, let me see if I can maybe just, I can be high enough to be clean. And yet, in this case, we don't have a newness. We have sort of the opposite of that, right? We have this very deeply experienced person. Shushu, how's it going? And the quality of the pieces themselves, I really would love to see at some point. You can see the size of the deck. It's like it's a standard tarot size deck. A little bit thinner and longer than standard, I would say. Where should I start here? The Magician. Some interesting choices here for the Magician. color-wise, I think they nailed it, right? They found a painting with red. I think the choice of a woman, it was a good one. Interesting that the serpent is, you know, wrapped around her arm. If you notice too, the shape of her head implies a cup upside down. And you can see the stuff being poured down from it. Now that's me stretching, of course. Don't, you know, I'm not implying that that was the intent of Klimt when he painted this. That's not. I'm just seeing if it's present, right? And so a lot of what you'll hear is me looking for it. And, you know, we are pattern machines. We're meaning-making machines. We make meaning. But that said, you know, just kind of looking for the symbolism and seeing if it's there. There she is. So this is interesting because we have the book. There does seem to be this kind of symmetry about it. This is the Empress. I'm seeing where the gold flakes or flashes. This on the helmet, on the breastplate. This is a wand. She's holding a wand. And this is a statue of a small person with red hair, which you will see this figure throughout. It's actually very, very interesting. Whoever this black and white female is, this red-haired black and white. This red-haired female appears, which I've always kind of had the inkle is Lilith. And you'll see her in the deck here shortly as we go through some of these. And it's really quite something to see how she's appeared in multiple pieces. The Emperor. See, he's holding a different statue. Like, so just... There's the couple. Now let's see about the Emperor, or the High Priestess and the Hierophant. Here's the Hierophant. Wow, pretty. What a card. There's some kind of energy coming right here. Is it implied in the next card? No. Maybe. Wow, yes it is. Come on, that's not an accident, is it? You see that? I don't know, maybe I'm stretching. But so, we have this clear distinction between worlds. That's obvious. Whatever this is here, it's the red implies in somewhat the idea of fire, meaning will, and it's in a sea of blue. That reminds me of that poem I wrote. If I break into poetry, you'll have to pardon me. And then we have here that, well, you know, when looking at the card in person right now, it almost has the implication of a tree trunk, and he's standing outdoors, and so that would be a tree trunk to his left, but over there to the right, gosh, I don't know what that is. What do you guys think? This quiz is in the way here, so let me just take a look at what the results were and get it out of the way so I can read the chat. Let's see, end poll. Wow, everybody went for the exclamation point. Interesting. A lot of speakers and no listeners. Okay. So, what else do we see here? We have this triangle over a square motif, which is really neat. The color is actually not so bad on camera. I don't know if you can see this. This is sort of a dark greenish that goes into the black. The color is actually quite nice. And so here's the other couple, right? The High Priestess, or the, you know, the Popus and the Pope. The Papessa. Okay, and now let's see here. And of course, next is a very important card. It's the card of the fall. It's the card of the temptation. It's the card of the work. Right? We start at the top. I think it's very neat how it's hard to tell whose clothing is whose. Like, you can see her strap, but then the arm cuts off, and then that is like a bracelet that she's wearing, but due to the sort of linear quality of the patchwork, it almost looks like it's just one piece of clothing between the two of them, and it's almost hard to tell who's who. The hands are amazing right here. Her hand is really something. And then we have this beautiful garden on the bottom. Okay. Yeah, we're going to get to Lilith here in the in this deck. I did a stream on Lilith. She is in the Bible. In fact, I'll read it to you right now if you want. It's on the bottom of a big pile. She appears in Exodus chapter 22. Anyway, when they speak about creation, the idea is they created male and female. That was prior to the creation of Eve. Eve was created as from Adam. Eve was not created. Eve was transformed. She was the product of a transformation, not a creation. Lilith and Adam were twins created at the same moment. But yeah, and we can talk about that again at some point. But if you like, you can go back to that video. It's under, I think it's under live streams, but it's, you can't miss it. There's a beautiful painting of a Lilith with the snake and everything as the thumbnail. The chariot. Okay, well, yesterday I wound up, I got a copyright hit, but not a strike for playing the Requiem last night. And actually 3 different tracks, the Lacrimosa, the Confutatis, and the I forget the third one, but anyway, long story short, but it turns out that it's okay, it's not a big deal, it's allowed, and again, it's only a problem if I choose to monetize that video, which I have no intent of doing. But now let's find out if I'm going to get into trouble showing the artwork here, because I don't know if this counts as copyrighted artwork. There are reworked, they're all gold foiled, and they're cropped and so forth. And then there's also clearly, although I'm clear when I put my description up that the channel's not for children, but there's a lot of nudes in this deck. It's sort of like the primary state of the people with a little exception, and so I'm curious how that's going to get picked up. I don't know. I mean, it's clearly art, but I'm curious what the AI thinks of that. But this is interesting. So we do have the chariot, but it's the idea here, if you look, that the environment that she's in is all outdoors. Like, this chariot does not imply the typical implication of the two animals that need to be wrangled, that need to be convinced, that need to be, enrolled in the circumstance. Right? This is just her and the chariot. And if you'll notice too, the straps are being held super thin. And then there's something going on up here where she has a wand, and it's unclear where that goes, right? And so this is, one of those ideas of like, gee, I wonder what's over here. And I have a personal connection with the Chariot card. My last name, Carrus, is a name that it was made up. Well, not made up, but misspelled at Ellis Island. But anyway, long story short, it is the Greek word for chariot, which is kind of neat. So it's just accidentally, but long story short, beautiful card, a lot of motion. I like that kind of swirly vibe down here in the gold. Pretty card, so far, I don't know. I mean, there's been some kind of stretchy stuff as far as the story. Here's Justice. Suddenly we have the sword pointed down with the scales. Bunch of triangles, and some of them are very pretty. This whole triangular motif is something I'm a big fan of. That's interesting. Yeah, actually, Missy, as well, on the sacredtext.org, there's under the Gnosticism is the Pistis Sophia. That is a book that you're going to want to read. It's under the section for Gnosticism. Here's the Hermit. Wow. The idea here of the path, right? Beautiful. But I don't know, I'm not really seeing the story so far. Does anybody see the story, or are we just looking at a beautiful piece of artwork? The Wheel of Fortune. I'm assuming this is the wheel. Not sure who the portrait was of. That information is in the book that came with the deck. So instead of petting a lion, she's got somebody's head in a bag. Is that an armband? Hang on, let me look at this here. Is that an armband or earrings? What are we looking at? I think that might be an armband, because there's one on the other side as well. Beautiful texture in the pillars. Pistis Sophia? Oh, sure. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Actually, I'll tell you what. I'll just grab you the link. Uno momento, por favor. One moment, please. Okay, we're going to look for Gnosticism. Pistis Sophia by G.R.S. Mead. You know what? While I'm here, I shall read to you from the Pistis Sophia. It came to pass, when Jesus had risen from the dead, that he passed 11 years discoursing with his disciples, and instructing them only up to the regions of the first commandment, and up to the regions of the first mystery, that within the veil, within the first commandment, which were 4 and 20th mysteries, without and below, those 4 and 20, which are in the second space of the first mystery, which is before all mysteries, the Father in the form of a dove. All right, let me just grab the link for you here. Oh, you know what? Let me go back to the first page. There we go. There we go. Alrighty, sorry about that. So yeah, that's the business of it. Let me just get to my dove. That was the first paragraph. All right. The Hanged Man. This is a very significant card symbolically. They did achieve the idea of the crooked leg, but it's not crossed over, although that's not really important once you understand the symbolism. It's really an alchemical thing. This almost has like a half a swastika kind of vibe to it, you know, which is a little different circumstance than, you know. Let's look at it right side up or upside down and see what we get. Interesting, there's almost like wings coming out from behind him. This has a vibe of almost like a serpent. Let's have him lying down and see what we see. This time has an animalistic kind of vibe, right? There's almost like a tiger, you know, some type of cat. Here it is. It's a normal position. There's, you know, he's definitely has a lot of extra string here too. I don't know really what the goal here is of that, but yeah. Interesting decision, right? I mean, these, all of these, you know, the crosses here are really something, right? You know, that's not a, you know, that wasn't an arbitrary decision, obviously. That was a choice that was made for a reason. So we have to consider that. I'll be right back. Pardon me, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's just count the people really quickly. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and then the figure, right? The essence of the loss. That's interesting. That one's upside down. But the rest aren't. Let's see. Let's make sure. No, all right. None of these are. No. These are all normal. Normal. I don't know. Maybe that's an accident. Okay. There's no other crosses on the... Yeah, I don't know if that was accidental. Could be stretching. Beautiful card, though. I like the color. Temperance. That right there is very indicative of the story, right? We have the idea of the divine cup pouring onto the profane sword. What's in her other hand? That looks like it's an apple. So this is the implication here, is that this is Eve, right? What's that on the tree there? Yeah, this one's got all kinds of possibilities in it, right? El Diablo. All right, here we go. Oof, he's cool. I want one. I think I would name him George. Or maybe Cornelius. He's a Cornelius. I would scratch him right there first. And then when he turns his head, I would scratch him underneath. Okay, but seriously though. Interesting choice here where we have 3 figures and then this figure on the top, right? And this is... Are they different? Are those separate? Are those different people? Yes, they are. Those are all different people. Okay. See the gold flashing in the hair. The one in the middle is clothed. And she's holding the 2. Right, yeah, so this is the idea. Almost like a dominant mother. The tower. Wow, okay. Let's put that in perspective. Okay, so those are people that are kind of... It's a man and a woman. Virtually skeletons, right? And they are descending? Are they descending? Yes. Yes, they are. Together. Right, okay. And then what do we have here? The star. Now this is interesting. This is called the stars, plural, and it's 2 women. As if you have Eve and Lilith, right? You see the 2? The Eve and the Lilith? Typically the star shows the 1 because the idea of the star, I've always felt, has this indication of the self after enlightenment. It's the self prior to identity, right? It's the real you, the higher self, the soul that talks when I speak about soul talk. Right? It's that idea. And so the fact that there's 2 beings here, both female, but there's one that's clearly the dominant one. That's like the nurturer that has the stars and so forth. And then there's the lower self being held by them. Because don't forget, Lilith and Eve are the same person. Just in different, polarities. Same gender, different polarity. Gender and polarity are different things. Beautiful. I wonder if it tells the story. I don't know. The Moon. Oh my god, what a card. Just look at that. Are you kidding? Wow. I wonder what he was thinking when he painted this, because it, you know, the implication here is that he wasn't thinking of the Moon tarot card. That wasn't the intent here. But really, I mean, these are all moons. There's this perfect idea of like the egg. There's that red-headed female I talked about that pops up a lot. I don't know if the color comes up so good on the camera. That's very, very kind of rust. It almost looks like a rusty Brillo pad in the way it's sketched too. Like, and there's a lot of line art in there. I apologize for having a poor quality camera. The sun. That's an interesting decision that they have these two people on the sun card together in sort of a still state. Typically you see the sun card with the two frolicking, right? And in here it almost looks like they've entered, like they've come to a gate and they're about to walk through it, right? Or that there's this thing that's kind of it's enveloping them and it's about to come around and then cover them. The triangular pattern too is really neat. It's very sort of fractal. This is a powerful image. This is the Judgment. Let's see, where's the gold flashing? Look at that. This is the Universe card. Does that say it all? Look, he even has like... I mean, whether or not the intention was there, those are clearly sperm. I'm not sure what that is on the bottom there. Look at that belly, man. Was that twins? Oh, that's... Beautiful though, isn't that gorgeous? And what a great card. So let's pull the Fool out and see from beginning to end here. So I don't know, there's a couple of cards that had some idea of the story in them, right? I mean, I don't know, there's a couple. Beautiful 10 of coin, just to flip through a few because it's a pretty deck. And you know, I looked at the card, the coins, and there's no particular mandala or any, you know, they seem to be just sort of pretty patterns that he was very familiar with as a motif as far as the artist Klimt. 10 of sword. That's awesome. That's saying something. 10 of cup. Ten of wand. We're all familiar with that one. That's an interesting take on the Nine of Cups, isn't it? You know, the woman in the garden with her bird. The Nine of Wands. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm, you know, some of them have some implication, but I feel like I'm stretching. There's a lot of these three women in a lot of the cards, and you know, so it's interesting to consider them as like the three mother letters. Wow, I like that. It's a white dragon. It's not showing up so good on the stream there. Okay. But you get the idea. Interesting. Theseus slaying the bull. Oh, that's funny. Look at my fingers. I'm sorry, I don't know. I just because that's why, okay? Sorry. This is very much like the Rider. Yeah, there's definitely a motif here of like Rider-Waite stuff, but I'm not seeing the story. I don't know. What we do have the red to green. The sword, yeah. Well, he likes the that red in the motif of the swords. Yep. So that was one of the decks. It's a matter of if you go looking for it, you'll probably find some indication. But the idea is that if you're stretching, then you know you might have to step back and then look at the deck again at a different time. With a totally different perspective. You know, once you've seen it the first time, you can kind of look at it a second time with different eyes. Okay, now this is interesting. This is just a it's like a photo oracle type deck, but it's it turns out actually that there's some interesting wisdom in here, and so we're going to look into that next. So far, so good. I was a little concerned about tonight because I'm not feeling so great. but so far so good. Yeah. Yeah, the difference between the Hangman and the Hermit. Yeah, it's again, because also from the perspective of the intent of the artist compared to the person who curated the art for the deck is really interesting, because I wonder what his motivations were when creating some of that artwork. Because some of it is so bang on tarot that I wonder if it's just an archetypal thing and that's what we're looking at, or if there's actually something to that, right? But either way, it's so striking. And if you consider, for instance, the Surrealist Tarot totally is a storytelling deck, right? Or the Deviant Moon, totally a storytelling deck. So even though that these decks can be very artsy or indie, doesn't mean that they don't tell the one truth or point to it. So this one, let's just get the name right. This one, I believe, is called The Shaman's Dream. All right, is that, yes, The Shaman's Dream. Not my cup of tea as far as names. Typically, if I were to see a deck called The Shaman's Dream, I'd be like, okay, I'm out. I'm one of these sort of like purist, foofy nerds that if it doesn't have the correct correspondences with strength and justice, then it's like that kind of thing. So I typically don't. And somebody said, Michael, give it a shot and try oracles in addition to tarot in respect to the readings, right? Anyway, long story short, I went through the process, and so there's a couple that I tossed around until I found a few that I could actually work with. Now, this in particular is so off of my normal wheelhouse that I usually only use it as an inspiration, but it's really good for that. And so this is one of the examples of finding the story everywhere, and recognizing the fact that different than the tarot, which we approach with questions or we approach with a goal in mind, typically there's an intent behind the work. This is different. The intent is I don't have a particular question. So what do you want to get off your chest, right? If I recognize that everything I see and hear, all observable phenomena, is just me speaking to myself, then by giving myself permission to just speak without me having a purpose behind the listening can be valuable. And it's a great opportunity for channeling. So this isn't about you pull a card and you have your idea for the day, which is also useful. Read it like you would a tarot card, meaning that you should channel it, and that one card should be a conversation, not just a word. And so let's take a look at that. I don't remember how many there are, 60, 70 some cards ish, and each one is a unique image with a keyword and a number. I'm not sure what the numbers mean. Frankly, I took it out of the box. I put the book in the box, put the box away, and I have the box put away, and here's the deck. And I didn't even read. Nothing, no disrespect to the creator. But let's just pull a random card and channel. Pretty back, by the way, isn't that? It actually kind of goes nicely with this book box. This is just a box I got from Michael's or somewhere. I think it might have been Michael's. Oh, yeah, it kind of goes with it. With that said, though, so let's Just pull a random one from the middle of the middle of the middle. That'll work. Covenant. Sacred contract. That does have some biblical implications, doesn't it? Right? The idea of the covenant was the idea originally that the Hebrews were the chosen people, quote unquote, and there was a new covenant when Christ left, that he would leave the Holy Spirit behind, and that Holy Spirit would give access to the Father while he was gone, kind of thing. And then that he would be returning, and when he returned, that we would all be forgiven and join him on the right hand in heaven, and all shall be returned and stuff. So that's the new covenant, right? Okay, fine. But now I think the more important word here is contract, because it implies two parties. Right. I mean, the whole idea of a contract is that, like, okay, here's what I think should happen, and here's what you think should happen, and if we agree upon that, let's sign this, and then we're both held to that. It's kind of like the agreed upon law. There's the law of the land, and then there's the law that we decide. But, you know, with respect to this here, there's two sides of the contract, right? There's the one who wrote it and the one who read it and agreed upon it. And the question is which one are you, right? Are you the writer of the contract, or are you the one reading it and agreeing upon it? Are you the speaker or the listener? Right? If you're the writer, which you are, just, you know, obvious. Then it's important that you understand what it is that you're writing, because it's, you know, the language matters, the order matters, right? You can't simply put words in a row and it give you the result you're looking for. It has to be done in a certain way for that to take place. And so the idea here is that A, recognize the fact that contract is between two people. And B, that the words of that contract matters, because words create, and so what you write down is what you create. And then ultimately there's the one truth, right? What's that one truth? That this is really just a thought experiment, and that's why the contract's blank. There's nothing written down, because there's nothing that needs to be written down. See that seal? That seal implies that the contract was already signed, rolled up, and sealed. And it's been opened and it's blank. So there's some truth in that, right? The truth is that there's, you know, we do have a divine covenant. We're gonna enjoy this time while we're here, and then come back. And while we're here, we're gonna do our best to forget so that we can remember. And while we forget, we should enjoy. And while we remember, we get to really enjoy. Pull one or two more and see what we get. Some of them are really pretty. But you get the idea here, right? Like, I'm not reading this as I would a tarot. I'm reading it with respect to the one truth. Moon Maiden, new beginnings. it's hard to see the moon, especially above a woman's head, and not think of the High Priestess. But there's other energies that I'm getting here as well that aren't just High Priestess related. Obviously, this is an angelic being. Or the implication is that it's angelic. You see the wings. It's sort of, is so big that it can hold the moon up, right? So this is not a human. There's also a very obvious green-yellow glow about the angel. This isn't an angelic being that's blue or purple or red. This is an angelic being of like this earth energy. And there's this idea here like of a this white in between the two. And what's actually happening here, it's almost as if she's been born into the world through the moon. Like the moon is the mother that gave birth to this entity that is this sort of yellowish green soul that's descending to Earth. Yeah, I definitely get that vibe too. If you look at the sparks that are coming off, they're definitely going down. They're falling, right? Yeah, this is a great card. It is really pretty. New beginnings, descent. Magician's sword, confidence in your magic. Interestingly, we have a fire sword. The weapon of the archangel. We also have a heart. I don't know if you guys can see that. Where's my chopstick? There's this energy here that looks like a heart. By the hilt. Very cool. What does it look like upside down? Neat. Interesting that it's red. A lot of light in this one. This is so great. Very soft imagery too. It's been blurred on purpose by the artist. What time is it on that clock there? 11:44. See that? It's almost at 11:45. It's a minute off of 11:45. It's 11:44. That's cute. What else here? There's a horse in the middle right there. Or is that a carousel? An umbrella. Music. What is that? It's like a raccoon sitting on a piece of cake. I don't know. It's a strange image. There's a key. This looks like an ape head. Or maybe a baboon. I mean, this definitely shows the idea of the myriad lie of the mind, right? Oh wow, I just got super dizzy. That's been hitting me the past couple days. Like wow. Woo. It's really like, woof. Okay. Last one. Sky Dancers, Surrender. What a strange image. What are we looking at? I mean, obviously it's got a dragonfly vibe, but it also has a fairy vibe. We do see the butterflies. We see the trail of the magic. Kind of, that's this big, beautiful yellow moon. Although it does say Sky Dancers. So there's this idea of like, I forget what her name is. I forget the name. Yeah, this one is called the Shaman's Dream Oracle. But yeah, I'm not sure. Being inspired by your cat. I don't know if I know anyone that's inspired by their cat. So I'm just going to put this one away. Actually, you know what? Let's just flip this over and go through a couple here. Some of these are really pretty. Fortune's Wheel. Luck and Timing. The Galactic Mushroom. Okay, these two are big. Yep, that's a biggie. All right, so you see this deck here, and it's like, oh, these are okay, yeah, I get it, right? And then we get this. Then we get this. You ready? Right. What about this? Right. Many masks, the authentic self. Bonky, thank you for joining the stream. Absolutely. Please put your question in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer it. Many masks, the authentic self. How true is that? What is the authentic self? There isn't one. There's no such thing as an authentic self. That's right. You're just a big, fat, lying liar that lies. And there's nothing you can do about that. Me Talks. Love this. Me Talks. Repairing the body, mind, and spirit. Can I pursue my ambition? Can I pursue my ambition? Let's take a look. The fact that you're asking the question means that you have a desire to do that you're driven by it, right? And so right away, the question is not, can you, but what can you do to get that going? And so that's the question that I'm going to answer. The question I'm going to answer is, what do you need to do in order to achieve your goal? And the first thing you need to do in order to achieve your goal is to understand what your goal is. Because there's the goal you think, and then there's the goal that's real. And so let's look at what you think compared to what's real. So this is what your goal is that you think. straddling worlds, wandering between realms. So you think the thing you think you can do, your goal is you think you can have both. And it's not always easy to do that. Let's look at the reality, what the goal actually is. Clarity and organization. So what this is that I think that you're in a position here of feeling like you really want this thing, but there's something in the way of that. Like, and that thing in the way, this isn't sort of like a tarot reading. There's something in the way. The straddling both worlds is the idea of, for instance, studying one way but working in another, or having some type of practice that's important to you on a physical level or on an emotional level or a spiritual level, and then doing something that undermines that for a living, or kind of going against your the people in your current environment that might be an issue, that they don't support what it is that you're doing, and you're kind of having to work around that in your current circumstance, right? That's another example of how that would apply. Right. Punished spiritually. Okay, well, authority is the only thing that has the power to punish. And so let me be really clear about what authority means. Authority is an interesting term. The root of it is author. The person who's writing the story gets to be the authority, right? And so, one more time, authority is the only thing that has the power to punish. Authority is granted. So first of all, you have the power to take that back right now. You have the power to right now say, you know what? You have no power over me. I take my agency back. That's first thing. Second thing, and this is a biggie. You are the author. You're the one who wrote down the order to punish you. And so you're the only one who has the authority to release the punishment. That's how this works. So here's what we're going to do, okay? I'm going to step away, take 5 minutes to make a cup of coffee, and then we're going to banish this instance that you're dealing with, okay? Let's just do it for real. Let's just do this for real. Okay, now. And it's going to happen live right now. We're going to find this thing, this spiritual entity that is stopping you from realizing and is from causing you spiritual injury. And we're going to tell it where it can go. Okay. I happen to have a circle right here. Ready to go. Happen to have a few pentacles that were derived magically. And this is something that we can definitely do for you if you'd like. If you're open to it. And if you're not and you're wasting my time, leave now. Because I take this seriously. If you're serious, then we can do this, okay? So I'm going to go get my coffee. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. We'll take care of that problem, okay? And you know, anybody who's a regular to my channel knows that I'm serious as a heart attack, and so while I'm gone, just make sure that this person knows I'm not kidding, and that if they are trolling, that's just in the channel to do it. Anyway, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Alrighty, so we're back. So, let's talk about what's going on here. When you mentioned generally that you're being punished spiritually, right? So let's take a look at that. While you're typing the problem, just go ahead and type what you mean by that. Just give me a little bit of an indication of what you mean. And I'm going to prepare the space and begin. Usually I like to start this kind of work with a tarot reading, and so that's what I'm going to do. So let me just put this away real quick. So I'm going to consider how the gravity is going to treat this when I tilt the box. No, I'm pretty sure you didn't. I'm just setting up to do a quick banishing. Nothing huge. Let's see here. Baki, if you're still in the room, let me know. If not, you're going to save me a lot of time. So, if you are, then we're going to do this. Cashapp. Okay. Are they, they're gone. Let's see. So if you're still here, let me know. Don't tell me I got all dressed up with nothing to banish. That's not fair. Well, basically, we're trying to banish a spiritual punishment. And so, but they left. So, what we'll do instead is to just, do it anyway. And then we'll move on to some Ching stuff that I wanted to talk about. Okay, so, we need to give it a name. Once we have a name, then we can banish it very easily. So, we have to give it a name. So let's do this. This would cover both. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to tilt my tree so I can see my screen. Okay. Okay, so 277. Let's take a look. Yep. This is exactly what we're trying to do. This is the word. Okay, I'm satisfied with that. So let's draw the sigil. I don't have enough space for Goetic magic. So we're going from Aleph to Yud and then to Hey. Resh, Mem, Yud. Back to Hey. I have to look at the pronunciation here. Not sure I have a handle on what it sounds like. before I start speaking it. That's better. That's my deacon. Okay. Let me look at it again. Okay. Okay. Sorry.